Mommy-Daughter Dialogue, where we discuss our journey as mother and daughter. I'm Aisha, the mommy.
And I'm Ari, the daughter. And today we're going to be talking about boundaries.
Yes, best friends and boundaries. So we thought about this because we see a lot of mothers and daughters describe themselves as best friends, and it always gives us pause because that is not a term that we would use to describe our relationship. I want to press pause for a second and just say that again, we are talking about our journey as mother and daughter, so everybody has a different journey. But here's our take on best friends and boundaries. So, Ari?
So best friends, the term best friends, that makes it seem like you guys are on an equal playing field, which is not the case. Friends are typically peers. Friends, are going through like the same things in life typically. My mom is not my friend. She's here to guide me. She is here to take the lead, teach me. But in terms of friendship, there's still that power position. So she still is going to make decisions for me, whatever she feels best. And I'm supposed to listen to her because her job is to know what's best for me. A friend is just, supposed to, would you say, like give advice maybe, or just be there for you, but they don't get the final say. You get the final say in a friendship. My mom is, I think we've had this discussion before, and she told me, I'm not one of your little friends.
The quintessential mama phrase. Girl, I am not one of your little friends.
So, I think that when parents at least say to their child, oh, that's like my best friend, or that's, look at my little baby, that's my best friend, it kind of confuses the child a little bit, because it's like, oh, this is how I treat my friends who are my age, so maybe this is how I can treat my mother. And it's like, nah, you can't get away with certain things that you could with your friends, that you you can't get away with certain things
with your parents.
No, you can do certain things with your friends, but you can't do certain things with your parents. So, yeah.
So on each episode, what I didn't share in the beginning is the way that we approach this is I talk about what I do intentionally as a mom and as a parent. And then we also talk about Ari's perception of the decisions that I made. And we do talk about like what topic we want to share, but we don't discuss our thoughts prior, because we want this to be authentic, of course. Yeah. And so in saying that, some of the things that I intentionally did, I started with the premise of wanting to raise a complete human being to womanhood. And what did I want that to look like? So what kind of steps was I going to take along the way in raising her so that she could become a fulfilled and complete adult? And for me, that in and of itself does not lend itself to a friendship relationship, which is why that's never been what I sought out from her. I never sought a friendship relationship from my daughter. How do you feel about that though? So I was intentional. What I'm saying is I was intentional about not creating a friendship here. And having her see that I'm here to protect, to guide, to facilitate her growth, but not be her peer. So how did you feel about the decisions in terms of me making that decision from the beginning and that guiding me through my parenting with you?
I think it's ultimately one of those things that's like, okay, your parent knows best. So when I was little, I think it hurt my feelings because I would hear my friends saying, my mom was my best friend. Like we, and they would describe it like we do everything together. We talk, I could talk to her about anything. And I was like, I feel that same way, but she's not my best. Like, she
I didn't
told
have that label.
Yeah, like, you just weren't my best friend. And it kind of was like, they're just everything that they're describing they do with their mom and their mom does, like, that is what my mom does. But it was so confusing to me because I'm like, she's not my best friend.
Clearly, I made that very clear.
Yeah. So I was just like, dang, like, I want my mom to be my best friend. But then as I got older, I was just like, yeah, this, because when kids think that their parents are their best friends, they're gonna start trying to get away with things. I think that I typically wouldn't try to get away with, because
You know what? It's interesting that you say that, Ari, because in my mind, when she was 2, when she was 1, when she was 3, I always had in the back of my mind, one day she's going to be a teenager. And when she becomes a teenager, I can't flip the script then. So I've got to start in a place that I want to continue to nurture this relationship. So you can't be my best friend at 5, and then all of a sudden when you 15 and you want to do things that 15-year-olds want to do, and I have to put my foot down, I have to have, like, there has to be a shock to the system.
Yeah.
And so I started in that place. Like, yeah, we can have fun together. We can talk about anything. I am your soft space to land. If you make mistakes, so to speak. That's what I think. That's how I think of parents, like being your soft space to land in this hard world. So I am all of that for you, but you are not my friend. That's not the case.
Right.
So one of the other things I think that was intentional for me is continuing to nurture relationships outside of this parenting relationship. And so oftentimes, especially, I've said before that, I was a single parent up until she was 13 years old, essentially. And so when you bring this life into the world and you're responsible for this life, you can get lost in that. But one of the things that I intentionally did was set boundaries so that I didn't lose myself, because I knew that I needed to keep a sacred space for Aisha to be completely fulfilled so that I could continue to nurture her and ensure that she is fulfilled. And that couldn't be a reciprocal relationship with a child. And so to me, a friendship is one that's based on reciprocity. I fill you up, you fill me up, we love on each other. It is not my child's place to fill me. And so that's my perspective on that. And so how does that, even hearing that, because I don't think that I've ever explained it in that way before, but what is your, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I agree. A friendship is supposed to be reciprocated. Sometimes it is 50-50, sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's like,
it's a give and take.
Yeah, it's a give and take. And as parent-child relationship is not that way. I was going to ask you, what do you think, we're not there yet, but you know how parents, like older kids or like adults, will say, my mom's our best friend. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think you could be best friends with your parents once you're an adult and once you're like on your own, taking care of yourself?
I think it's still important as we like navigate this young adulthood relationship that you still have a place for you. So what I mean by that is I feel like a best friend is somebody that you can go to no matter what. I will never be that for you. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I am very, very overprotective and I am not forgiving. So as you start to go through your ups and downs with friends and boyfriends and whatever, I'm not the person to come to when your man makes you mad, because you gonna forgive him and I'm not gonna move on. And so I'll be, because of the connection that we have, I'll be able to see if you need my guidance through things, but I don't want to know all the little things he did to piss you off. You know what I mean? And so you're beginning to move into that phase of life where you need somebody who's going to be a sounding board for that. And me knowing myself, I can't be that sounding board.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is just for her. Like, I'm sure for other people, they could probably, forgive friends.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But how does that make you feel though?
I mean, I already know my mom, so I already know that.
But would you want that? Like, would you want to come to me and say, Mom, I'm going through this with my boyfriend, and even if it's little things, like, am I the person that you would want to come through to with that?
No, because I already know how you would react. So I have other people. If I didn't have anybody else to go to, then I would be like, oh, I wish I could go to my mom about this. Because sometimes I would need guidance, and I would need somebody to tell me, like, how do I handle this situation? And my peers don't know what to do. And sometimes my peers will give me really bad advice. But at least I have people, and we talked about this last episode, like a village that I can go to, and like I can ask for guidance in those certain situations.
So let me tell y'all, like, my people know me. Between my family, my friends, our network, they know me. So anytime, this is the other piece of setting this up, like, I'm not your best friend, and that's okay, because you have other people that you can go to. So there have been like family members and friends who have stepped up and said, girl, look, I know your mama. I know who you dealing with, and
yes.
if you need to talk, make sure you talk to me.
Yes.
And I am so okay with that. You have to know yourself as a parent, and know what your limits are, and not force yourself to go beyond those limits. Sometimes we need to, but sometimes it's okay to let the village handle some of the things that that's not your lane. That's not your lane. And so that relationship stuff is not my lane. Now, when she wants to talk to me about her social life, if you wanted to talk to me about, like, we put outfits together, hairstyles, makeup, all of that kind of stuff, yeah. But when it comes to men, if somebody hurt my baby, I'd be out for blood. So no, she's gonna have to go to somebody else about that.
Yes. Okay, so next thing we were going to talk about is, we
were going to talk about like extracurricular, because we're talking about boundaries, and we'll revisit the conversation of boundaries. I know one other thing I wanted to say before I left that, though, is the importance of maintaining a life for yourself as a single parent. And so we can get so lost in the care of our kids that we neglect the care of ourselves. And one thing that I also intentionally did was make sure that I incorporated self-care into parenting. And that's not what we typically think about when we talk about motherhood and parenting. Self-care, I'll get that in when I can. But no, I intentionally created space for self-care so that Ari understood what that looked like and what that meant. So when she was away from me, I knew that she was with trusted people. I was not one of those people who would call her and say, what you doing? Because that was my time, my space. There weren't a lot of people I, allowed Ari to go with, but her grandparents were awesome. And I know everybody, again, doesn't have that, but when you have that core group of people that you really trust with your kid, if she went and spent the night at her grandparents' house, I did not talk to her until the next day. So there was no expectation there. And I did that intentionally to create a boundary, because if I was out partying or doing whatever I was doing, she didn't need to know about that. And if she got to a place where she expected a phone call, or I didn't talk to my mom today, then what was I creating there? So intentionally going on vacation without her. That's one of the other things that I did. I love to travel. And so I would always go on a girlfriend's vacation and then go on a family vacation. So she understood, that was self-care for me. Even at one point I was teaching in the same school she was going to. And so it was like maybe a 10-15 minute ride from our house. And I would say, you know what, Ari, we always started with, how was your day? Oh, even now, like, how was your day when she comes home from school, not during the pandemic, but normally, How was your day? We would talk about that. And then I needed quiet time. I just needed time to decompress. So building all of those things into our relationship so that she understood what self-care looked like for me and how important it was for me to be full and whole so that I could nurture her. How did those moments feel for you? Did it feel like lack? Did it feel like self-care? Like,
With the going over my grandparents' house and you not calling, like, I didn't even know that was purposeful. Like, I was just like, all right, I'm over my grandparents' house. Like, I'm chilling. Vacation, I knew that was self-care. And, of course, kid hears their parents going on vacation, like, why can't I go? But I would come over my grandparents' house and I'll be chilling. So, and then with the drive home from school, you explained to me, like, mommy just needs a minute, and if you just be quiet, we could talk about it when we get home. And I'll be like, all right, we'll talk about it.
It started with her talking nonstop. She would come into my classroom before the students even left, and she would be talking nonstop. So I did not get a break. And one day I just said, Ari, you can talk to me while we're in the classroom. Was that it? You could talk to me in class, or you would help like do the clean set up for the next day. But when we get in the car, it is 10 minutes from the car to the house. In those 10 minutes, I need quiet. And she was like, huh? And I was like, I'm teaching all day. The kids are talking all day. Then you come directly into my room and I just need a little bit of peace. So whatever you're thinking about, just hold it for 10 minutes for me. And then when we get home, we'll talk about it all. And my child was like, okay. So just taking those moments to even explain what you need in a developmentally appropriate way.
Yeah. Communication is key, y'all.
Yes,
okay?
it is.
That was very helpful. That was helpful because it made me think about your feelings. I feel like a lot of kids don't think about their parents' feelings. They just think about what they want, what they need. And when you tell your kid, like, I'm human too. Like, I need, some peace. I need some quiet. I think they'll understand.
Oh, this is funny because that started when hold on, I got a funny story about the chicken. That started when she was probably 2 or 3 years old because, of course, when you prepare dinner, you fix your child's plate first. My baby has always loved to eat.
I know where this is going.
I would fix her plate. And before I sat down, she would be done. And then it would be like, more please, more please. So I go back and fix her another plate. And I'm like, so one day I finally said, she had to be about 3. I finally said, Ari, mommy wants to sit down and eat too. So I will fix your second plate after I have had something to eat. And it really, at 3 years old, changed the dynamic of dinner time. It was like a light bulb, like, oh yeah, mommy didn't eat.
Right.
So just, communication.
Yeah. It's very effective. Okay. We're ready for
Yeah.
Extracurricular activities. I did a number, I think. I mean, a good amount. I did saxophone, Krav Maga, which is self-defense.
Oh yeah,
class.
Krav Maga, I forgot about that.
Cheerleading. I did try out for the basketball team, but I did not make the basketball
But you also did like some basketball kind of camp thing.
Yeah, and then
you did cooking.
Cooking.
Like chef classes, gourmet chef classes.
What else? I mean, I still do extracurricular activities now at
school.
Crew, FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America.
Yeah.
Etc.
Gymnastics.
Yes, I forgot about that.
She wanted to do swimming, but she has always had a really thick head of hair, and I was like, I can't.
Oh wait, no, but I did do swimming for a little bit.
Yes, you did. You did.
Yeah, I remember that because it was wintertime and it would be cold when we left.
Yeah. I know when swimming had to stop. Swimming had to stop when it became, oh, I want to be part of a swim team, and the swim team meets at 4 and 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, we
we
can't do that, and I can't be doing your hair. So anyway, so extracurriculars and boundaries. One of the things that, again, in the process of doing this on my own, I realized very early on, self-care, she can't do everything. And so part of her being involved in all of these activities, the question will always be, is there something you want to do? Yeah, I want to try. Let her try it, and then do you love it? And so the minute she said, it's okay, I was like, and that's a wrap. Because what I wanted to teach you with intention is that it is okay to be still. It is okay to be still. You don't have to be involved in everything. And then when you find that thing you love, go after it with all your passion. But guess what? It's okay not to have that thing as a child. This is the time of exploration. It's a time to kind of dip your toe in the waters of a whole bunch of different activities so that you can figure out where you might want your path to lead you. And it's okay to try a whole bunch of different things, but more important, it's okay to be still. So what is your take on that?
I'm glad I tried a lot of things. I realized sports wasn't my thing. Well, actually, that it's pretty recent because I stopped doing crew in 10th grade, but that's when I realized sports really weren't for me. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I'm glad that I got to experience a whole bunch of things, and I really found out that you should put your energy into things that you're really passionate about, like she just said. Like, nothing that I did, I was like super duper duper in love with. But I still think now I'm struggling with the fact that I'm about to graduate high school and I don't really have a true passion yet. And I don't know, like, it's just so strange to me how you have to know what you want to do with the rest of your life at 17, 18 years old.
And you don't.
Yeah, you really don't, but
and this
makes it seem like you do.
I was getting ready to say, so this is where your ideas with parenting come up against society. And what I've tried to instill with you, being in competition with what our society says. So
yeah, so I'm still trying things. Like, I'm majoring in computer science, even though I don't know anything about coding. But, like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm glad that I was able to experiment with things. And because a lot of people aren't given the opportunity to do those things or don't have to.
There were times, though, where I think you liked things, and I couldn't commit to it. Again, I knew my limits, and one thing that I've been unapologetic with really is when I meet those limits, saying, Ari, you know, I love you, but this is who I am, and we've got to kind of go through this together. So if this is something that you are truly passionate about, let's get behind it and let's do it. But being the kid that she is, she's like, I can take it or leave it. So I was like, great, let's, flip on the TV and watch some American Idol. As opposed to spending all day in a cheerleading competition. We did that a couple times, and I was just like, I would rather not. And so where do you stand with this? But I guess that goes back to what you're saying, like communication and talking about it.
Yeah. Because I liked cheerleading, but I didn't like it enough to, like,
spend your whole weekend doing it, and all the nights. Driving the
weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot.
It was a lot. And so, yeah, that was the conversation we had.
But I think a lot of parents, especially with sports, have their kids do it because they want, them to get scholarships and stuff like that. So I guess it just depends on what you want as a parent, but also what your kid wants as well. Like, I just don't think that parents should make their kids play a sport because they're like, oh, I want my kid to get a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I could see why parents would like push their kids to play a sport because they want their kid to get a scholarship.
My number one thing was peace in our house. So self-care, peace in our house. And so what is going to drive that? And for me, that wasn't extracurricular activities. You know, we are out here in the world doing all that we need to do, but when we come home, how can we have this peaceful existence? And I felt like more often than not, extracurricular activities disturbed that peace. The saxophone definitely disturbed that peace.
Oh, yeah.
Cheerleading disturbed that peace. Crew was fine.
Crew is just hard for me.
Right. Because by that time, the boundary had been set, and she was like, I really want to do this. And so it was on her.
Yeah. And waking up at 4 a.m, catching the bus and train all the way across town
to go get on the Potomac.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. And
I was so proud of you, though.
Yeah,
she was like determined, and I was determined not to take her across town at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So you know, I do have to say, you know, I wish that I could have provided more support with that. But again, knowing my limitations, knowing that I still had a full-time job where I had to be on it, like being in front of kids every day and being responsible for other people's children all day, every day, did not put me in a position where I could go to work tired.
Yeah, and by the time I would leave, you would probably be getting up like within a half hour. So,
yeah,
because you would get up really early.
Yeah.
So. And it made me feel good because I was like, I did it.
Yeah, you did.
Independent.
Yeah, you did. All right, so we've come to the point in this episode where we're going to talk a little pop culture, what's going on in the world. And of course, the thing that's on everybody's mind right now is politics. And so we live in Washington, D.C., 10 minutes, if that, from the U.S. Capitol, which was invaded this past week. So what are your thoughts around that?
Well, where do we begin? The Trump supporters came to D.C. D.C. is a very liberal city, if you didn't know. So it's like mostly blue. So to have a whole bunch of Trump supporters come to the city was very abnormal.
Yeah.
White privilege, let's discuss that. They were able to just walk right up to the Capitol, like no shots fired, no rubber bullets, barely any tear gas. And that is the epitome of white privilege right there. Because during the Black Lives Matter movement, the Capitol steps were covered with military. The National Guard came to the city, and most of the protests were peaceful. I think a lot of people have been calling these people protesters. They're domestic terrorists, and it's also interesting how the color of their skin reflects whether or not they're a protester or a terrorist. So, what are you thinking?
You articulated my thoughts so well. On a personal level, though, for me, it takes me a little while to come out of a bit of a funk after events like that happen, because it reminds me of generational trauma, how we as Black people are not allowed to we would have been killed for the same thing. Period, point blank.
No question.
And no questions asked before or after our death. There would have been a massacre on the Capitol steps. And so knowing that, and then knowing what white Americans can do and get away with, always puts me in a bit of a funk. So, you know, but otherwise, in terms of just the political aspect of it, I think you pretty much summed it up. So at this point, I'm hopeful that this will be enough of a stain on Donald Trump that he will have consequences for this. It seems that like that Teflon Don thing, nothing sticks to him, has seemed to be true. So I'm hopeful that it won't be true this time, because he does have 4, 5 now deaths on his hands.
Yeah, and I saw a video of the rioters. One of them said that this is not their America, this is our America. And that really stuck with me, because these people think that we, as the, I guess, marginalized communities, don't have a voice. This is not our country. We are not allowed, we do not have the right to pick a president. It's just like, oh, all hell breaks loose because we voted for somebody, I guess, I don't know, we voted for somebody that they don't agree with. And I just, it hurt, you know, to know that we have to share a space. First of all, this is stolen land. And I just want to put that out there. Like, this is really indigenous people's land. This is not our land. This is not real. This is their America. This is really not our America. But, anyway, it's just like, we have to share a space with people like that who believe that marginalized communities do not have should not have a voice, don't have the right to have a voice, don't even have the right to human rights. So,
this is where you make me proud. And this is where I see her coming into full womanhood, because just having her own thoughts and ideas around what's happening in society, and whether that's politics or otherwise. So I'm proud of you, kid.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 2 of the Mommy Daughter Dialogue. We will be back with episode 3.
So we'll see what's to come. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Mommy Daughter Dialogue, and make sure if you have any questions, email us at mommydaughterdialogue@gmail.com, and like and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, you can also leave us a comment on Instagram or on YouTube.
I think, I'm gonna have to figure that out because the comments are off on our first video.
Oh, so, okay, that works too. So like us on Instagram and leave us a comment. All right,
bye guys.
Bye everybody.